All right. So now we're working on the 350 turbo transmission out of the Camaro. Just got to installing all the seals. Um, got the new torque converter sealed in, front pump seal. We got the new shift shaft seal in. You can see that back there. And we got the new drive shaft seal. Here's all the old ones. This is the old torque converter pump seal. The drive shaft seal just crumbled. I've never seen one so old where it's just, I mean, it's hard as a rock. It just fell apart. And this is the old shift shaft seal here. So anyway, we got all those ready, and we'll be soon to get ready to mate it up with the engine and get it in. So just one more thing we got to go through to get this sucker up and running. All right, we're back on the Camaro build. Got the engine stripped down because we took the manifolds off because we're running headers. I'm in the process of putting the motor mounts on. I had to change them off the old engine onto this engine here. Got the transmission all sealed up and got it cleaned up and painted. And so I found out I'm gonna have to run electric fuel pump on the car because this engine here is a later model engine, and it don't have the spot on the cam to run the manual fuel pump. I've already took off the little cover down here and stuck the pin out of the old engine up in there and turned it over, and it's not pushing that pin. So I'm going to have to run an electric fuel pump, unfortunately. So we'll be hooking that up once we get it in. So far the engine looks real good. Inside of it was nice and clean. I'm going to need a starter on there when I put the engine and transmission in. I'm just going to leave it in there. Hopefully I can sneak the headers past it. I don't know if I ever showed you guys the headers. These are the, if I can get them out. Oh, these are some powder coated hooker headers. And they're new. One of them says hooker on it somewhere. I don't know which one. I think it's the other one. But they are hooker headers. So we're going to be running those on there. And he'll have to take it to the muffler shop, get new exhaust ran out with the Flowmasters. I would guess that would be the choice. So anyway, let me get the putting these things together, and we'll get it slid off in here, and we'll start hooking it up and get this baby fired up for the new year, so he can get it back and do whatever else he needs to do with it. And all right, all you Chevrolet ghouls, Chevrolet fans, I got this old motor in there. I had to do some finagling to get it in there. I forgot these Camaros are long nose, and when you have your cherry picker extended all the way out, you still ain't got enough swing to get that engine in there. So what I had to do, I have my 4-point engine leveler on, hooked on the intake, and I can only get it tilted in at an angle, and then I ran out of room to get it to swing it over the engine mounts to set it down. So what I did, I took my floor jack and I put put it up under the transmission straight ways with a board up under the transmission pan, and I just took the back chains loose off my engine leveler, where I can only pick up the front of the engine, and I just let it down, pushed it, let it down, pushed it until it just slid on over the mounts. And while I was pushing it in, it was actually rolling on the transmission jack down there. And see how much space I had left between the bumper and the cherry picker. These Camaros are long nose, so if you got your bumper on it, it's hard to get your cherry picker up there close unless you got an overhead hoist or one of those what you call it, like a crane, like a swing set deal with a chain hoist, or if your cherry picker arm stretches out further than this. See, I got mine already maxed out, and so that's as far as I can go forward. So I had to really think about it. These Camaros, like I say, if you got your front bumper on, their job to get that engine over in there without tearing up something, or really you can't tip your cherry picker over because it's going to be against the bumper anyway. And if you got a cherry picker like I got with the long extenders on it, it's kind of hard to flip it forward. But anyway, we got it in. I forgot to paint the engine mounts, which I'll just paint them right now since I mean it's in there. But I got the bolts in both sides down there, bolts in. So she's in, so we're just steady moving along with it. So now we get the transmission cross member, which is over here. I clean it up a little bit. We get it up under there where I can move the jack, and we'll ease the, well actually I can ease the cherry picker down now because the bolts are in, so it's not going to go anywhere. I gotta put the stick on it because it's balancing on the transmission at the back, I mean on the jack. So she's in. So that's the biggest part, is getting the engine in. Once you get the engine in, you start hooking up everything else. It's a piece of cake. These old GMs, I mean, they just really easy. Unless you're doing an LS swap and you got a lot of wires and brackets and stuff like that. But these old schools, man, they just drop in, plug and play, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna keep working on. Getting kind of late, so I'll show you guys what else. Sorry, I'm getting tired. What else I come up with, I'll show you guys as this thing continues on. So we got the headers on. I got this side bolted up. I'm using the Mr. Gasket self-locking header bolts. You know how these header bolts are, they're start backing out. Well, these, they have thread sealant, which is like Loctite already on the threads. They're made by Mr. Gasket. The part number is 2230G. That's what it is. Sorry about that. And it has Loctite already on it. And it has this little Allen socket that comes with it that you can use to start it. And it has like little ridges on it. I don't know if you can see those little ridges there. Hard to get focused on it. But it has those little ridges that's supposed to lock into the metal when you tighten them up. So, but you can pick these up at O'Reilly's, and these fit AMC 29401, Chevy 262 400, Chrysler 383 440, except Hemi, Pontiac 326, through 455, Oldsmobile 330 through 455, not 1955 through 97. So they got them where they fit all kind of different stuff. So anyway, I'm getting the header bolts tightened up, and we'll be moving on to another part on it. So I got the transmission pan off, and here's the new gasket. There's the pan. Did find a little metal shaving, just a little bit in the strainer. Nothing major, so hopefully this transmission pans out alright. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to drive it, so I couldn't keep it running. But I did drop the strainer, and dropped it, checked it. It's one of those strainers that you can actually clean. It's not made of like paper or anything. It's kind of like a nylon. So I did find a little bit stuck to it, so I just went ahead and cleaned it off, and we'll put a new gasket. I waited to get the transmission back in the car, that way I can do the pan gasket instead of trying to jack it up with the cherry picker or turn the transmission over or something like that, you know, on the ground. So this is good for me. So I got it all clean, so we're gonna go back with the new pan gasket, and we're gonna go from there. So I had to modify this bracket here for the throttle cable, so we can hook up the kick down cable and the throttle cable. This one right here was off of a Pt.4 intake. It has the adjustable plate for the kick down. I think it's off of a Ford. Sorry about that. But it has this plate here, so your kick down cable just slides up on there like so, and then it snaps in. It's supposed to snap in there, something like that, and it just bolts there, and you got plenty of adjustment to slide the cable forward or backwards. So this is off the 2-barrel. This is the 2-barrel intake throttle bracket, and it won't bolt up on this intake nowhere, because that's a new style 350, and this is the old style 350, which it bolts just like, let's see, just like that. And then it reaches the throttle cable, the carburetor. So I had to modify that one to work. So power steering pump. I'm going to use the original power steering pump off the car. I kind of painted it, got some primer on it right now. This is the one off of the engine. It's missing this fitting for the hose, and this has been cut off for some reason to put a hose on there. So I am going to use this bracket, try and use it to bolt it to the side of the block where your manifolds go. But this power steering pump, it won't work, mainly because that's facing a different way anyway, and it's missing that fitting, which I could take out the other one, but I don't want to cause a leak. So see, this one's facing the hose itself. Well, it's actually facing the bracket, and that one's facing outwards. So we're going to just use this pump here on the car. So making some progress. I'm waiting on the universal joints for the drive shaft. These things are really stiff. I can barely move it with one hand. That one moves pretty decent, but this one here, you don't want to move all the way. It should be real flexible, and these are the original ones. They don't have the grease fittings in them, so we're just going to replace them. There's the back one. So we're just going to replace the universal joints anyway. So making some progress again on the Camaro. So I'm gonna get these throttle cables hooked up and throw some more paint on this power steering pump, let it dry, and we'll get it installed and get the belt on it and go from there. So we got the throttle bracket on. Now I just got to hook up the throttle cable. It has this little ball that snaps into it. Got the kick down cable hooked up. So I got this little ball here. I'm gonna put it right there. Looks like I'm gonna have to get a washer though. Let's get a small washer for it. I think this washer might be big enough. Yeah. So we'll put the ball on there. So the throttle cable snap onto it. Probably gonna have to put a bigger washer. I think this will work for now. Tighten up, let's just see. Looks like that ball is a little bit too big. Let's see if I got a smaller one. So I found a smaller one. I got a whole collection of them. So this one here, it's a little bit smaller for the cable to snap on. Oh, got the nut first. Let's see. There. So now throttle cable's hooked up. Should be able to still got gas in the carburetor. I hear it. I got to put a spring on there too. So now we got throttle. Now let me get a spring to hook up. The third spring. Before I had another one. This is like a dual action spring here, which might be too long. I'm not 100% sure. Should we hook it there? There might be too much spring action. Let's just try one spring. Got one spring, we'll try it. I think I'm just going to hook it in here, because the hole for the spring is all the way on the other side. Let's see how one spring will do. good. I think one spring will do it. Going all the way down, coming back. So I think that'd be good. I just gotta tighten up the ball that goes on the throttle. Probably get a lock washer put on there. But anyway, there's the throttle set up. It's all connected. So I do have this other spring. I think these two went together. That one went over it. I might have to add another spring to it. Feels pretty good though. But I think that should do it. So like I say, we rocking and rolling. Happy Saturday, everyone. Continuation on the Camaro build. We got our new universal joints for the front and the rear of the drive shaft. That's part number 513X Spicer. Got us some fuel line 3/8. This is a low pressure fuel pump that we're going to be putting on the frame. It comes with all the attachments. It even has the fuel filter that screws onto it. So we got that, and I'm in the process of getting the old universal joints out. Had to heat up one side with my little handheld torch, and this is the old one. Still kind of hot. So, and I took my wire brush on my drill and cleaned out the little joint parts in there, the parts where your bearing sits for your universal joint, your bearing cap rather. So I still got to pull this end off where the yoke is and get the new joints in, and then we'll be ready to install it in the car. So like I say, it's an ongoing process, but you want to do it right. So I have the drive shaft installed with the new Spicer universal joints installed up under there. And also I have the electric fuel pump mounted to the frame. So what I did was, it had a metal line. Here's the old metal line. It ran straight across the frame and it connected here. So I cut a section of it out and we installed the fuel pump right here on the side of the frame. This was like the only place I can put it where I had room, so I installed it here. I don't have the hose hooked up from the tank yet because I'm going to be running power to it, and I don't want it spraying gas just yet. So, but here's the ground wire grounded to the frame, and this is your 12-volt power lead going all the way up. Have it running up through here. Along here. And I'm going to run it to a power source, so when the key is turned on, the fuel pump will come on. I'm going to try and run it to where it will come on when the engine is cranking, instead of when you just turn the key on, it's on, because you might turn it on, you listen to the radio, just be sitting there pumping. Being that this is going to be a female car, she probably don't know anything about turning the switch back to accessory. So she's going to turn it to on, and it's just going to be sitting there pumping. So we're going to try and wire it where when the engine is actually cranking and running, that it will have 12 volts going to the fuel pump. So we're going to try that. I don't want to put a toggle switch on it, because then, you know, people leave toggle switches on, they run the battery down, burn the fuel pump up, forget to turn the switch on, while when you get ready to crank it, being this is going to be a female's car, I don't want all that. I want it where as soon as you turn that key and crank it, the fuel pump's going to come on. So I might have to add a relay. Not sure yet. But we did get that done tonight. So, like I said, the process is moving right along. And we're going to shut it down for the night. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on stuff I'm doing. We're kind of doing it off camera because it's hard to keep the camera in some areas when you're up under the car and you might knock it over or whatever. So I'd rather just do segments at a time on what I'm doing, show you guys. But yeah, the engine's in. We got power steering. We got the alternator. I am going to redo this fuel line here. I hate this setup this way it was on the engine when you got it. I don't like this big glunky plastic fuel filter sticking up. So I installed a new metal fuel filter down here, which is going to hook to that fuel line right here. So we're going to do away with that. I don't like that, that big 18-wheeler fuel filter. So we're just going to put just a regular line here straight to the carburetor, and it's going to have the metal filter down here. So yeah, guys, so just keep checking me out. We're going to get this baby running soon. Very soon. Very soon. All right.